Hello. Hello. All right, we are on. Hello, everybody in the YouTube world. This is Nicholas Montez here, and today we're going to be doing a Sony Marvel films list, basically with the release of Kraven the Hunter. I kind of saw it late, but I wanted to still do a list where I could rank all these Sony Marvel films. This is a list that because last time when Venom: The Last Dance came out, I did a list for just the Venom movies and Madam Web and Morbius. Now we're doing it with all the Spider-Man movies, plus those Sony Marvel films and Kraven the Hunter. And it probably will be the last time I ever do this kind of list because we're not going to get those kinds of villain movies anymore. But with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're actually going to do this in release order, so I need to fix this real quick. Well, that's been The Last Dance. All right. So first up, we have the original Spider-Man from Sony and Sam Raimi in 2002. I think that this is a top-tier Spider-Man movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, just period. It is just the perfect example of how to do a superhero movie right, where you care about the characters, some good action, but you care about the characters and the relationship, and it's possibly one of the most relatable films I've ever seen. Next up, we have Spider-Man 2, and honestly, I would have told you that, like, I love it, but I don't like it like that. I actually love this film to where it's actually going to go in the A tier as well. I think they just crafted another sequel. They took all the stuff that they made about the first film and kind of did it and expanded on it in a great and fresh way. Now, granted, I do have some problems with some of the train sequences in that while it's a fun, great action sequence, I don't think the plot of the why it's happening is that thing, but overall, just a fantastic movie that delivers some epicness and some greatness. And then we have Spider-Man 3, in which it's not the best Spider-Man movie because it tries to do so much with balancing Venom and Sandman and having a lot of issues but at the same time, because it is in this trilogy, I think there's some things that I do kind of enjoy with it, and that in that it shows you what is a Peter Parker, what is a Spider-Man's life like if everything is going right for him? How is it affected with the other people that's in his life? And I think that shows pretty good, especially with MJ and Peter's relationship and how it turns out. So, by the same, it doesn't handle everything right, but it's going to go in the D because it's at least has some of that rewatchability in some sorts. Then we have the Amazing Spider-Man, and they fired Tobey Maguire because they couldn't do Spider-Man 4, so they decided to bring in a new actor to play Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield, and I think he does really well. I think some of the swinging scenes in here are pretty good. The James Horner score is fantastic. I've never really bought Lizard as a good villain or anything. The specific action sequences are fine. I think Andrew Garfield has the best quips of being Spider-Man, and masters that perfectly. So there's some good things in here, but it's kind of just fine, especially since it came out 10 years after the original. So I'm gonna put this one in C. Next up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and there's obviously a lot of great things about this movie, whether it's the action sequences, the comedy from Spider-Man, the Gwen sequence, the action sequences, a lot. Hans Zimmer's amazing score. There's so many great things about this movie. However, I feel like this movie has a few issues. They try to do a Sinister Six movie to set this movie up. They try to do so much and having so many villains. And it does so much that it doesn't really feel like a cohesive story. So I can understand when people say this is the weakest Spider-Man movie, even though it has some great things in it. I can definitely admit that. Then we have Spider-Man Homecoming, and I think that this was a pretty well-told Spider-Man movie in the MCU, in that it shows you, and it basically shows you Spider-Man is in a universe filled with other superheroes like the Avengers and the Galaxy and Ant-Man and Black Panther and Doctor Strange. How does that story work? He's not exactly one of the best heroes in that universe, so he's trying to be. And I think that story kind of works in this universe. I thought Vulture is a pretty great villain from this movie, and the scene in the car with him and Peter was awesome. Some of the comedy in here is really funny, and the score from Michael Giacchino is also really good. But at the same time, it doesn't stand out quite as well to the other Spider-Man films. But at the same time, it's a good take on Spider-Man that I thought was well done. So I'm going to put this one in B. And then we have the first Venom movie, and I'm actually going to put this one in the C category. I think this, I like Tom Hardy and Venom's interaction. There's a lot of cool action sequences, especially in the apartment, or that little chase with the drones. But overall, I feel like this movie, it kind of feels like a lot of other comic book movies that, like, tries to do something big and interesting. And it kind of works, but then it's, like, not really. So Venom is good, but not great. And then we have the magnum opus for Spider-Man films with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And man, oh man, was this movie great. The animation is just so comic booky. I love this comic booky 3D animation style. I also love the way that they were able to do a Miles Morales film, do a new take on Peter Parker, but also introduce us to other Spider people throughout the multiverse. And it does it in great spades, but at the same time also being great versions of Spider-Man villains and characters. I thought this movie was fantastic, and it's easily another one of my favorite movies of all time. It's easily an A-tier movie. Easily A-tier. And then we get Far From Home, and yeah, this movie's fine. Yeah, this movie doesn't really offer a whole lot to me. I kind of feel like there's a lot of cool action, and definitely a lot of, I love the twist with Mysterio, and that is kind of like the whole movie is basically a twist in the thinking of what it is. But at the same time, it's kind of disappointing in the way everything turns out. And I never really liked the stuff that they did with Peter, and that he was basically the next Tony Stark. I don't like the way they did that. But overall, the movie is very entertaining, much like Spider-Man 3. So I will put it in the D tier, but it has a lot of issues in the way certain plot lines happen in this film. Then we get Venom Venom Let There Be Carnage. I think that this is a good sequel. I think it's enjoyable. I like Cletus Cassidy. I like Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy. I wish we had a lot more Carnage in here. And I liked that they kind of just started off with Venom and Eddie's relationship in the film. I thought that was the big standout in this one. So for me, I'm going to put this one in the C as well. And then we have Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that this is easily one of the best Spider-Man movies that we've done. Of course, it has a lot of nitpicks here and there. I don't think they use certain villains as well as others. But they handled the bringing back Spider-Man right. They gave you the great Spider-Man experience. They gave you some awesome Spider-Man action. And they pulled off the Tom Holland Spider-Man story right in concluding it as it's basically his trilogy was his origin story, and now we get to enjoy his time as Spider-Man in Spider-Man 4 and his future trilogy. This was an amazing film. You're going in the A tier as well. And then we get Morbius, and yeah, this movie's bad. They just try to do something interesting, and for some reason, it couldn't work. And for me, that is a huge problem when you're trying to do something like this. So yeah, it didn't work. Plus, the end credit scene just made it 10 times worse, as it does not make any sense. Then we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, in which, for me, I think this is a great movie on some account. I think that I love the animation, I love the introduction to all the characters, but I do think that it has a lot of stuff that is going for it, and all that stuff. So for me, this is going in the B tier. It can't go in A tier, unfortunately, but it is still a great film. I'm still excited for Beyond, so don't hate on me in the comments. Then we have Madam Web, and yeah, this is also going to be in the F tier as well. I was not really a big fan of this movie. They had an interesting concept, but they just spoiled it poorly with doing all of these characters. So, was not a fan of this movie. And even like Sydney Sweeney and Isabel Merced could not save this movie for me, even if they were bad as fuck in their costumes. Then we have Venom: The Last Dance, and I think it's an okay sequel. It's an okay third movie in this Venom trilogy. But overall, it just kind of doesn't really do much for me. I kind of wish we spent more time with the symbiotes and all that stuff, and it just doesn't do that for me. So, where would I put it? I don't know if I would put it in the C tier. I'm gonna put it this one. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of D tier. I'm sorry. And then finally, we have Kraven the Hunter. You're gonna hate me on this in the comments probably, but I actually think Kraven's pretty good. It's not great, but for me, it's pretty good. I liked Kraven the Hunter actually. So yeah, I'm putting it in the D tier. I'm putting it in the C tier, but it's gonna go at the bottom though because I enjoy these movies more and I think they're a lot more structurally and more entertaining more. But that is it. That is my ranking of all these Sony Marvel films, and this will probably be the last list when I can just be doing normal Spider-Man rankings. But that is it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.